Greetings, everyone. Tonight marks the commencement of exploring the lively, smoky, and somewhat sticky medieval tavern scene. These establishments, often overlooked but essential in every town, served as the informal hub of information and the common ground where a knight, a farmer, and a bard could revel in equal measures of inebriation and mischief. More than just a place for libations, these taverns were rife with a blend of danger, merriment, and illness under their thatched roofs. So, before settling in, please take a moment to show your support by liking the video and subscribing, but only if you genuinely appreciate my content. Share your whereabouts and local time in the comments. It's always intriguing to know who's joining us worldwide. Now, lower the lights, perhaps switch on a fan for gentle ambient noise, and let's embark on tonight's adventure together. Picture yourself navigating a muddy street redolent of horse, smoke, and questionable broth. The wet conditions, courtesy of recent or ongoing rain, have left everything slick, including your lone pair of footwear, fatigued, famished, and nearly sideswiped by a cart brimming with turnips twice. You crave a drink. But in a medieval town, how do you locate a tavern without luminous signage, online reviews, or GPS? Rely on your sense of hearing. Pursue the clamor emanating beyond the blacksmith's forge and the vociferous fishmonger promoting fresh river eels, a blend of laughter, exuberant voices, and fervent singing about a bird. There, you'll find a ramshackle wooden edifice slightly askew, seemingly influenced by overindulgence. Suspended above the entrance is a weathered sign bearing a crudely painted image of, is it a barrel or a bear, or maybe both? In any case, here you are. Welcome to the tavern, where the front step is slippery with ale. Pushing open the heavy door, you are greeted by a long, creaky noise that could pass for its own show. Immediately, the warm air carries the scents of smoke, damp wool, stale beer, and mystery meat, hitting your face like an unexpected encounter. Inside, the low ceiling forces tall men to duck and drunk men to watch their heads. The floor is actual dirt, covered up with straw in a feeble attempt at cleanliness. There are no private booths, no waiters with menus, and no chance of having a quiet conversation in this medieval tavern. You find a seat at a crooked bench near the hearth, though it's damp with an unknown substance. An argument over a stolen chicken can be overheard nearby. Another patron is slumped over with a ladle in hand. A one-eyed dog gnaws on a bone under a table as if he belongs there. And this is just the beginning. You've just arrived, and the atmosphere already hints at a memorable or forgettable night. The heavy door slams shut behind you, enveloping you in darkness like a damp blanket. It feels warm, uneasy, and slightly suspect. Gradually, your eyes adjust to the flickering candlelight against the walls, casting shadows that seem ready for a brawl. The hearth blazes in the distance, providing warmth but also posing a fire hazard. Smoke hangs lazily in the air, barely making its way out through the chimney. The tavern may possibly contain a dead crow, yet the most striking sensations are not from the noise or the warmth, but from the smell. The aroma of a medieval tavern is less about pleasant scents and more about invoking emotional distress. The primary scents consist of ale, which is warm, tangy, and spread generously over every surface, followed by the smell of sweat, both human and equine, possibly mixed with something fantastical. tinged with a touch of musty bread, damp straw, and a hint of boiled onions. The combination is a fragrance no perfumer would dare to create. The tables bear the marks of many years, initials, crude sketches, and cuts from knives, standing proudly but unsteadily. The benches groan under the weight of muddy boots, heavy cloaks, and questionable decisions. The floor is as dirty as expected, but covered with straw to absorb spills, saliva, and the occasional unconscious patron. Stepping cautiously, any wrong move might lead to an unpleasant encounter with an indescribable texture underfoot. The crowd is a lively, noisy entity, where boisterous laughter fills one corner, and two men engage in a heated debate about pig prices in another. A woman's forceful mug placement causes her drink to spill, yet no one reacts. A man at a nearby table gazes at you with a bewildered expression, pondering deeply, or perhaps forgetting how chairs function. A sneeze nearby prompts the entire left side of the room to instinctively move away. Despite the jarring contrast to modern settings, there is an inviting atmosphere within the tavern. It is bustling, rugged, and entirely authentic. A medieval version of a social gathering place, albeit without the cleanliness and with significantly more shouting. Finding your seat, slightly damp and possibly cursed, it becomes your temporary spot. Initially, the layout of the tavern seems like someone hastily placed it together. Following an earthquake, the furniture was rearranged haphazardly in the tavern and left that way intentionally. There's no specific layout, no designated bar section, no cozy booths tucked away in the rear. Just a chaotic mix of tables, benches, barrels, and the occasional wooden crate pretending to be a seat. The arrangement varies from being too cramped to too spread out, depending on one's level of intoxication. The focal point is the hearth, a large, open fire burning brightly against one wall, striving to provide warmth, illumination, and a hint of indoor smoke exposure. Guests gather around it, seeking solace, resembling moths drawn to a flame. Those lucky enough to secure prime spots monopolize the heat, while others make do with ale for warmth. The bar area, if it can be called that, typically consists of a sturdy wooden plank supported by two barrels, weighed down by jugs, mugs, and elbows. Behind this makeshift bar stands the tavern keeper, juggling tasks like serving drinks, barking orders, and fixing a stern gaze on the individual who still owes from last Tuesday. There are no menus. Upon inquiry about available options, patrons are usually met with a choice of ale or silence. A narrow staircase, potentially original and undeniably splintery, leads to the upper rooms, where one might spot a boot hanging from a railing post. Its purpose, decorative or cautionary, remains uncertain. Some taverns may offer a back room, its function ranging from storage to illicit gambling, or perhaps it's where those who offended the barmaid disappear to. It's advisable not to inquire further. The walls bear candle soot stains, the windows are obscured by greasy fabric or animal hide, and every surface has been meticulously polished. Generations past left their mark on the tavern with their elbows, boots, spilled drinks, and maybe even a chicken. Somehow, amidst the chaos, or perhaps because of it, the tavern operates smoothly. Everyone is familiar with where to go, how to sit, when to cheer, and when to be cautious. Although it may seem disorganized, the tavern is full of life. In every medieval tavern, there is a leader, not the local lord or the tax collector, but the tavern keeper. They may not wear a crown, but do not underestimate them. The tavern keeper is the one who runs the place, taking on roles as a chef, server, accountant, babysitter, and enforcer of justice within the tavern. They are a one-person institution and do not tolerate any nonsense. If the tavern keeper is a man, he may be sturdy, gruff, and seem like he's been through a lot. If it's a woman, which is often the case, she is sharp-witted and can command attention with just a glance. They have witnessed everything, heard worse, and cleaned up messes before breakfast. Regulars are acknowledged with a nod. Newcomers are met with skepticism, and troublemakers are dealt with swiftly. Keeping mental notes on who has settled their tab, who still owes, and who has had too much to drink. The tavern keeper relies on memory, as writing may not be common in medieval times. The tavern keeper sets the atmosphere of the place. When they're content, the tavern thrives, but when they're displeased, it's best to drink quickly and avoid making jokes. They mediate disputes, resolve cheating accusations, and are the first to intervene in a scuffle. Crossing the tavern keeper is not wise, as they are well informed about all the happenings in town, debts, affairs, and even false appearances. If you want to know someone's name, you might need to offer a bribe to the bartender. Seeking protection? Best to sit close to them. Need a favor? Just hope you haven't caused any trouble in the past. Some tavern keepers have helpers, whether it's a family member or someone they've taken under their wing. These assistants work hard carrying heavy barrels and serving customers to keep the tavern running smoothly. Amidst the seeming chaos of the tavern, it is actually a well-balanced ecosystem, with the tavern keeper at its center, managing everything efficiently. As you find a seat in the lively tavern, surrounded by commotion and spilt food, you realize it's time for a drink. However, don't expect a wide selection or fancy presentation in this medieval setting. Your choices are limited and may come with some risks. For instance, the traditional ale is unfiltered, thick, and may contain some unexpected surprises. Another option is the mead, a sweet and potent honey wine that could either be delicious or disappointingly unpleasant. Cider made from apples may also be available, made from freshly picked fruits or those fallen on the ground. 3 weeks prior, an acerbic and sharp beverage was served in chipped mugs that could double as soup bowls the next morning. This particular drink is favored in regions abundant with orchards, or by those seeking an alcoholic beverage strong enough to overshadow unpleasant odors. While technically classified as wine, in areas outside of Southern Europe or among the elite, it tends to be diluted, spoiled, and accompanied by sarcasm. Fine wine is typically enjoyed by aristocrats, clergy, or successful merchants. Opting for water is a bold choice due to the risk of contamination. Clean water sources are scarce, and boiling water requires precious fuel. Hence, even children prefer ale as a safer option to avoid succumbing to disease. The focus is not on intoxication, but on survival, particularly for young individuals at risk of succumbing to illness at an early age. Unlike modern establishments that serve meticulously crafted cocktails, medieval taverns offered drinks in wooden, clay, or tin vessels, sometimes still tainted with remnants of the previous night's meal. The act of raising, sniffing, and sipping from such containers is considered satisfactory, as long as the liquid is wet and not immediately harmful. Having navigated the challenges presented by the drink, hunger now beckons, signaling a lack of sustenance since daybreak and a meager prior meal dominated by barley and desolation. However, dining options are limited in a medieval tavern, devoid of menus, servers, or inquiries about dietary constraints. Instead of ordering, patrons inquire about remaining food items, hoping for something warm and minimally mysterious. The common fare at taverns usually consists of pottage, a thick stew incorporating various grains, vegetables, and questionable proteins gathered throughout the week. New ingredients are incorporated daily, with no removals, creating more of a culinary time capsule than a traditional meal. If meat is on the menu, it's likely rabbit, pigeon, or an unfortunate chicken that wandered too close to the flames. Game meat might be mouth-watering or overly aged and seasoned with desperation. Wooden or clay bowls and either personal spoons or fingers are used. Most diners bring their own knives in this bring-your-own cutlery setup. Napkins are scarce, with tunic sleeves or well-used rags serving as substitutes. The bread is dense and robust, almost weapon-like, complemented by pungent cheese and unique flavors. Options may include salted fish or pickled eggs. Specials usually mean excess ingredients repurposed. The ambiance, food warmth, and rustic setting make the meal satisfactory and comforting, despite the unrefined textures and flavors. The focus is not on gourmet dining, but survival-style eating. The real entertainment lies in observing fellow diners within the lively and noisy medieval tavern setup, akin to an ancient form of social media with boisterous conversations and oversharing. A lay, recounting the tale of his cow's sideways birth, abruptly pats your shoulder mid-story as if you were a close friend or a suitable stand-in for the pig he typically drinks with. Across the room, a hooded figure lurks in the shadows, nursing a drink with deliberate slowness. Whether a fugitive monk, a bandit, or simply socially awkward engaging in casual conversation with him seems unadvisable, lest one wishes to vanish behind the stables. By the fireplace, a soldier in worn armor entertains a group with fanciful stories of dragons, French adversaries, and a chatty sword met with indifferent skepticism. As he merrily narrates, the crowd, fueled by tankards of ale, erupts in jovial laughter. A boisterous, perspiring merchant vocally advertises grain prices, unsolicited, eagerly flaunting gold coins from his pouch as if enticing thieves by nightfall. Meanwhile, a duo of locals intensely engage in a game of dice at a crooked table, one of them blatantly cheating while the other knowingly permits it, likely postponing conflict until the ale is depleted. In a corner, a bard strums a tune, crooning a love song interspersed with improvised lyrics, met with acceptance due to his decent attire and musical precision, deemed an improvement from the previous night's performer. Women maneuver through the gathering, some as tavern staff, others pursuing individual endeavors, exuding sharpness, confidence, and an unmistakable air of intimidation. They respond to various interactions with flirtation, amusement, or potential violence, based on the visitor's demeanor. Amidst the bustling scene, children dart amongst the crowd, snatching remnants of bread or coins without interference, a normalized aspect of the tavern environment. All present observe, drink, scheme, and feign ignorance towards the slouched figure tucked under the furniture. In this tavern, you are not just dining and drinking. You are part of a vibrant and lively performance, the true essence of a medieval tavern, lies in the symphony of chaos that unfolds within its walls every night. The clinking of mugs, the boisterous laughter resembling wild boars, and the overlapping voices engaged in arguing, storytelling, and other lively activities create a unique atmosphere. The bartender and barmaid are in constant motion, handling orders and ensuring the patrons are taken care of, while the bard in the corner strums his half-tuned lute, occasionally singing about various peculiar topics. The scene is further animated by spills, loud burps, and unexpected falls, all accompanied by the background noise of barking dogs and a bleating goat. The tavern truly comes alive with its eccentric characters and bustling energy. Within a wooden cavern, the atmosphere is far from tranquil, yet strangely rhythmic. Every now and then, there is a sudden hush in the room lasting precisely 3 seconds, broken only by a heroic flatulence, followed by the resumption of music. This isn't mere background noise, it serves as the tavern's pulsing heartbeat, raw, boisterous, and brimming with vitality. Upon attentive listening, a peculiar harmony emerges from the chaos, a characteristic that intensifies the longer one remains. As ale flows and stew settles, the tavern metamorphoses into a medieval-style casino, lacking velvet ropes but overflowing with clamor. Gambling becomes the main event, attended by weathered soldiers and barefoot youngsters wielding borrowed dice. Devoid of a dealer or regulations, a weathered wooden table, a few copper coins, and the imminent loss of dignity are the only constants. Dice, crafted from bone, wood, or whatever material is on hand, clatter like thunder with each roll, eliciting a mix of cheers, groans, and accusations of sorcery. Despite their mistrust, everyone partakes. Cards also make an appearance in more refined regions of town, thick, hand-painted, worn, and usually missing a few. The rules are fluid, varying depending on the explainer. Objectives may involve securing the highest number, matching symbols, or simply improvising. Think poker, but with added slapping. Wagers range from currency to beverages to livestock. Yes, even a prized goat. Some bet their boots, while others stake their freedom for the evening. Defeated, he watches as the seasoned regulars deftly manipulate the games. They move swiftly, roll cautiously, and grin a bit too eagerly. Their tactics involve cheating, an essential part of the thrill. A concealed die here, a marked card there, and a staged cough when the fortunate player leans in. If you win big, you treat the crowd or face retaliation. If you lose terribly, you grin, feign intention, and slowly edge your chair back towards the exit. Side competitions emerge, including arm wrestling, thumb wars, and the ever-popular challenge of consuming the most without stumbling. Applause awaits the victor, while the loser endures a night under the table and a lingering headache. Despite the unclear regulations and ludicrous stakes, the atmosphere is intoxicating. In a medieval inn, chance is more than a pastime. It's a wager involving your money, your dignity, and perhaps even your trousers. As the evening progresses, and the tavern becomes filled with coziness and dampness, a distinct form of entertainment takes center stage. A fusion of tales, melodies, and confident absurdities unfolds. This is storytelling, medieval style. A minstrel, seated in a corner, tunes his lute with a few off-key notes, its strings sounding like worn-out shoes. Despite some missing teeth, he exudes unwavering confidence. With a grand gesture, he begins recounting a ballad of love and tragedy, featuring a knight who romantically perished pursuing a mermaid while reciting poetry. Though unbelievable, the audience is captivated, adhering to the unwritten rule of embracing entertainment over truth. Throughout the room, other patrons, not minstrels but emboldened by ale, share their tales with valiant spirit. One man insists he once wrestled a bear and lived to narrate the tale. Another asserts he witnessed a spectacle. In a smoky tavern filled with crackling fires and sloshing mugs, storytelling thrives as a cherished tradition. Boasts morph into ballads, mishaps become myths, and jokes circle back from bad to good. Be it a plagiarized poem or a recollection of familial ties to Charlemagne, every tale starts with disbelief yet captivates the audience. As the room erupts in claps, hoots, or bread-throwing based on performance quality, the occasional passing scold or minstrel adds to the vibrant atmosphere of exchange and entertainment. These wandering professionals trade music for coins, meals, and lodging, weaving polished songs and captivating stories that stir the crowd's emotions. However, even these skilled storytellers abide by the sacred rule of tavern tales. Never let the truth hinder a captivating narrative. Bonds are forged, and legends are born in these medieval taverns, where every liar becomes a hero through the sheer power of a well-told story. Amidst the flowing ale and escalating merriment, a sense of boisterous bravery takes hold, as romantic inclinations stir in the air. The night unfolds with bold advances and flirtatious encounters, where subtlety gives way to direct gazes and tipsy declarations of admiration. In this medieval setting, where truth blends seamlessly with fiction, the art of storytelling intertwines with the whims of the heart, creating an enchanting tapestry of shared experiences and newfound connections. The concept is that beauty shines more brightly than the hearth. In response, she throws a piece of bread crust at his forehead. The crowd cheers. Other patrons try their luck more gently by refilling mugs, clumsily giving compliments, or offering help with a bowl of stew to prevent spillage. Spoiler alert, the stew still spills. If you happen to be a woman in the tavern, a staff member, a guest, or a traveling merchant, chances are you are accustomed to warding off at least 3 aspiring poets, 2 arm wrestlers, and 1 individual attempting to impress you by balancing a knife on his nose. Sometimes the trick works. However, it usually concludes with a bruised eye or an empty purse. For those genuinely seeking companionship, taverns provide more than mere flirtation opportunities. Courtesans navigate the room with adeptness, identifying who possesses wealth, charisma, and who might pass out before reaching the stairs. Deals are done discreetly, but the implications are evident. Jealous lovers? Absolutely. Nothing triggers a tavern brawl quicker than a stolen glance, a wandering hand, or a husband discovering his wife laughing a little too heartily at the bard's joke about bishops. Tables are overturned. Tankards become weapons. A bench gets split in half once again. Yet, amid the chaos, authentic connections are formed. A shy baker's daughter and a traveling stonemason share a laugh over stew. 2 intoxicated farmers bond over their mutual disdain for turnips. A monk unintentionally flirts with a nun. Love, or a semblance of it, endures even in the rowdiest corners. In the medieval tavern, romance involves a mix of charm, luck, and avoiding face planting into your meal mid-conversation. You may capture a heart. You may receive a slap. Either way, you'll remember the encounter or at least hear about it the following morning. It was inevitable. Perhaps someone spilt something. In a tavern, a quarrel can erupt over anything, be it a disputed bench or a questionable comment. The bustling scene of music and drinks can swiftly transform into chaos. Objects are thrown, voices raised, and individuals impulsively engage in altercations. Such skirmishes were common in medieval taverns, almost anticipated. Though seemingly daunting, they often unfold in a more comical manner than perilous. Punches are thrown amiss, stumbles and falls occur, and amid the scuffle, food ends up on the floor. Amidst the uproar, the tavern keeper takes on a commanding role, armed with both a ladle and a club. While some join the fray without grasping the reason, others place wagers or move their drinks out of harm's way. Participants are wary of introducing weapons, as a simple brawl could swiftly escalate to legendary proportions. No patron desires to be barred from the sole establishment offering warm meals and ale. Gradually, combatants yield to fatigue, some opting to sit and reflect on their actions. The skirmish dissipates without fanfare, akin to a flickering candle. Remarkably, once peace is restored, joviality resumes swiftly. The fighters are separated, drinks are replenished, melodies are sung, and laughter fills the air within moments. In a medieval tavern, fights are common, and often result in just bruises and funny nicknames, like One-Eyed Arnold or Bench-Breaker Bill. It's a messy, ridiculous, and oddly unifying experience, providing entertainment as long as no one gets seriously hurt. After the brawl ends, with the bard passed out mid-song and your belly full of stew and cider, it's time to rest. Though accommodations in a medieval tavern are far from luxurious. If lodging is available, it's likely up a creaky staircase, leading to small, cold, shared rooms with no privacy. Sleeping side by side with strangers, some snoring loudly and others talking in unfamiliar languages, on thin, lumpy straw mattresses, fully clothed, boots on, and a dagger under your pillow for protection, surrounded by shared blankets and scents, like garlic lingering in the air. For those without a room or too intoxicated, sleeping downstairs on a bench or under a table next to a dog is common, enduring being stepped on, sneezed on, and possibly used as a footrest in a tavern that never truly grows quiet, even after the last drink is finished and the last scuffle resolved. Whispers in slumber, crackling of a log in the fire, or a faint echo of a distant noise resonating through the rafters, and yet, somehow, you manage to drift off. It may not be the most comfortable or pristine environment, but it feels secure enough. The warmth from the fire provides a shield against the biting cold. The innkeeper remains vigilant, keeping a watchful eye with a club nearby. The commotion transforms into a unique form of lullaby, familiar, human, and alive. You will likely wake up with a stiff neck, a parched throat, and a mysterious bruise. However, for a brief moment, you rest among a mix of travelers, scoundrels, farmers, and jesters. No royalty, no silence, just the sound of snoring, the rustle of straw, and the faint hope that your boots will still be there in the morning. Dawn sneaks in like an unwelcome visitor, casting a pale light through the crevices in the shutters and persistently prodding your eyelids. The tavern now wears a different demeanor, not necessarily quieter, but subdued in a sense of surrender. With one eye half open, you notice a boot resting on your chest, while someone nearby mutters about sheep taxes in their sleep. The bard snores beneath a table, clutching his instrument like a cherished companion. A chicken scurries across the floor, pecking at stale breadcrumbs from the night before, with no one questioning its sudden presence. The fire has dwindled, leaving the room chilly and smoky. Some patrons begin to stir, groaning as if recovering from battles waged solely within their minds. A man sits up, takes a glance around, then decides that today isn't worth the trouble. Lying back down, the innkeeper is already hard at work, clinking mugs, gathering straw into fresh piles, and tending to a pot emitting a tempting, yet slightly menacing aroma. With a brief look at the figures strewn on the floor, the innkeeper clangs a ladle against a mug, resonating like a morning bell from the depths of the underworld. The wake-up call is clear. Rise or depart. There's no lavish breakfast spread, but if you're fortunate, the pottage has thickened since yesterday, appearing even heartier. The bread has been reheated, and the ale has been diluted, yet no one dares to voice any dissatisfaction due to waning energy. Some customers resort to dunking their heads in a rainwater barrel outside, deeming it sufficient for cleanliness. Upon inspecting your pouch, you discover 2 coins and a button, representing a better outcome than anticipated. Your boots remain on your feet. Although one bears teeth marks, they still belong to you, marking a small victory. Fresh faces begin to filter into the tavern. Early risers, travelers, and laborers seeking refreshment before tending to livestock, tax matters, or confrontations with neighbors. The once slumbering tavern gradually rouses like an awakening creature. A tale from the previous night is recounted, inevitably altered in the retelling, now embellished with 2 brawls and a haunting provoked by a barroom ballad. The listeners nod in agreement, treating the revised narrative as factual. The prior evening was chaotic, leaving a morning shrouded in drowsiness, grime, and remorse. Yet you manage a smile, realizing you have navigated through it all. The sensation of sweat, smoke, and sticky ale under your boots lingers. You have endured the clamor, the flirtations, the hearty stew, and perhaps even a stray bench hurtling through the air. Amidst these trials, a profound realization emerges. The medieval tavern was more than a mere drinking establishment. It served as the pulsating core of the community. In a world devoid of phones, newspapers, or social media, the tavern functioned as an information hub. A merchant shared tales of distant lands. A soldier recounted battles from the front lines, and a bard wove songs that united the patrons, even if the verses evolved with each rendition. This locale fostered connections, where farmers mingled with artisans, pilgrims broke bread with outlaws, and strangers forged bonds that transcended initial encounters. The tavern was more than just a place to drink with friends before the next round. Within its walls, social boundaries blurred, rumors swirled, alliances formed, and grudges either dissipated or intensified based on chance. It served as a hub for various activities, including conducting business deals and sealing contracts amidst the backdrop of splinters and spilled cider. During an evening at the tavern, one could find employment, lose their money, tie the knot, or start a feud. It functioned as a court, a confessional, and a stage, offering a unique experience unattainable in the market or a chapel. For a brief moment, patrons found solace from the harsh realities of medieval life, allowing them to bask in the warmth of a fire, enjoy a poorly told joke, belt out a terrible song, and momentarily forget the challenges outside. Despite the ale being lukewarm, the bed uncomfortable, and the food lacking, the tavern provided a sense of vitality amid camaraderie in an era where the unpredictability of life loomed large. From diseases to wars to harsh winters, stepping into a medieval tavern meant more than just buying a beverage. It meant acquiring a sense of community, narratives, and perhaps a place to rest near the still-burning fire. Before the advent of cafes, pubs, and coffee houses, the tavern took center stage, exuding a raw, noisy, sincere, and unforgettable atmosphere. Nefertiti, potentially the daughter of a prominent Egyptian official, or even the sister of Akhenaten, is a figure whose background sparks debate. Some suggest she was a foreign princess brought to Egypt through a marital alliance. Regardless of her origins, her impact is significant. Nefertiti emerges in historical accounts like a sudden burst of lightning, dazzling, swift, and transformative. Upon entering Akhenaten's life, she does not assume a passive role as queen, but stands as an equal partner in a rule that would shake the very foundations of Egypt's religious and cultural beliefs. Together, they challenge long-standing traditions by forsaking the traditional gods and exalting the sun disk Aten as the sole deity, a bold and almost heretical shift. Nefertiti is not merely an observer from the throne. She actively participates in ceremonies, offerings, and is even depicted in artwork engaged in activities typically associated with male pharaohs, such as smiting enemies. Unlike previous queens who were often relegated to the background, Nefertiti is a constant presence. She is portrayed prominently in more artwork from that era than Akhenaten himself. In these depictions, she stands tall, sometimes depicted larger than life, visibly wielding power. In a society where pharaohs were considered divine, her close association with Akhenaten, spiritually and politically, hints at a possible deeper role, perhaps not just a queen, but a co-ruler. However, this rise to power is not without its challenges. Egypt is unprepared for such a significant shift. The established priesthood resents the abandonment of their deities and sacred sites. The capital relocates to a new city, Akhenaten, now known as Amarna, severing ties with the old traditions. Throughout these tumultuous times, Nefertiti remains a prominent figure, immortalized in stone reliefs and sung about in hymns praising the sun. Despite her visibility during her lifetime, her death is shrouded in mystery. There is no tomb, no remains, no definitive conclusion, only silence. It seems as though history deliberately obscures her fate after showcasing her during her remarkable life. The radiance suddenly turned its gaze elsewhere, marking the true beginning of her legend. To grasp Nefertiti's ascension, one must first encounter the person who altered everything. Pharaoh Akhenaten. Originally known as Prince Amenhotep IV, he hailed from a royal lineage steeped in centuries of deities and customs. However, a transformation occurred within him, described as either divine enlightenment or madness. Upon assuming the throne, he rejected the prominent god Amun and proclaimed a singular truth. Only the sun, Aten, deserved veneration. This radical shift was not merely religious, but a seismic upheaval shattering Egypt's foundation. Picture a society centered on temples, priests, and rituals, suddenly informed that their gods were false and their worship outdated. Akhenaten not only advocated for monotheism, but enforced it rigorously. Amun's temples were closed, his name erased from monuments, and statues destroyed. Entire cities were deserted, making way for Akhenaten, a metropolis devoted solely to Aten, where sunlight would stream between cliffs, bathing the city in divine radiance. Throughout this upheaval, Nefertiti stood by his side, not as a passive companion, but as an active participant. Represented in reliefs worshipping Aten fervently alongside Akhenaten, their daughters joined them, gazing reverently at the sun. This familial depiction was unprecedented in Egyptian art, with a stylistic shift towards more lively, expressive, even intimate depictions. The royal couple engaged in acts like kissing, playing with their children, and praying in soft attire under the sun's glow. Nefertiti's presence was ubiquitous in this new era, at times even outshining her husband. Nefertiti's husband, Akhenaten. Some historians theorize that she wielded tangible political influence and possibly served as a co-regent. Inscriptions mention her as Nefan Froatan, a name believed to signify her independent rule. It remains unclear whether Akhenaten shared power with her out of love, strategy, or necessity. But it was evident that her absence would have weakened the revolution. Revolutions are delicate, as deities resist being supplanted, and the populace yearns for the return of the former regime. By the peak of her authority, Nefertiti transcended her role as a mere queen to embody an icon of beauty, divine femininity, and royal authority. While Egypt had witnessed prominent queens like Akhmos Nefertari and Hatshepsut before, Nefertiti's influence felt distinctive. Unlike her predecessors, she did not govern from the shadows or seize power through warfare. Instead, she reshaped Egypt's spiritual and cultural landscape alongside her husband, embodying a living goddess. Despite bearing Akhenaten 6 daughters, including Meritaten and Ankhesenparten, her lack of confirmed sons posed both a political challenge and a historical enigma in a lineage-focused society, sparking various speculative theories. Despite uncertainties, motherhood played a pivotal role in her depiction, as artworks portrayed Nefertiti tenderly embracing her children in emotionally vibrant and lifelike stone carvings instead of rigid statues. During an era when pharaohs were often viewed as distant deities, Nefertiti's representation as a nurturing mother humanized the divine figure. However, there existed another aspect to her imagery, one that held immense authority. In various depictions, Nefertiti is depicted donning the blue crown, typically reserved for male rulers. She is portrayed as defeating enemies, riding chariots, and making offerings independently from Akhenaten. These actions were not merely symbolic. They showcased a queen executing the sacred responsibilities of a king. This implies a subtle yet significant truth. Nefertiti might have been preparing not just for a partnership, but for rulership itself. Historical whispers hint that as Akhenaten's health deteriorated, likely due to hereditary issues or stress, Nefertiti assumed more governance duties. Nevertheless, as Akhenaten's reign neared its end, she mysteriously vanished from public view without any grand announcements or confirmed burial sites. The enigma surrounding her disappearance leaves a void in history, raising questions about her fate. Despite once being prominently featured in Egyptian art and hymns, Nefertiti's presence abruptly fades around the 12th year of Akhenaten's 17-year rule. Her name vanishes from inscriptions, Her likeness dims in artwork, and no traces of her tomb or death notice remain. Amidst Egypt's transformative period, her absence stands out as a profound enigma, leaving historians to ponder her ultimate destiny. One prevalent theory proposes a straightforward explanation: her demise. The risks of childbirth were considerable, even for royal figures, as evidenced by the disappearance of Nefertiti's second daughter, Mekharten, from historical records during the same era. Speculation suggests a potential dual tragedy, with both a mother and daughter lost simultaneously. However, the absence of elaborate funeral rites, dedications, or a temple dedicated to them raises questions about this assumption. The woman was highly respected, akin to a goddess, so a quiet passing seems out of character. Alternative theories propose a political angle, suggesting that Nefertiti may have fallen out of favor or been marginalized within the royal court by Akhenaten, who could have favored a different consort like the mysterious figure Sminkara. There are suggestions that Nefertiti may have taken on a new identity as Nefanuaten, ruling alongside Akhenaten. If true, she would have been a rare female pharaoh in Egyptian history, akin to Hatshepsut. However, this theory loses credibility as Nefanuaten's reign ends abruptly, followed by the emergence of Tutankhamun, who reversed his parents' reforms. Whether Nefertiti ruled briefly on her own or under a different name, her reign remains shrouded in mystery, with only fragmentary clues and incomplete artifacts hinting at her legacy. This enigmatic figure, once the most powerful woman in Egypt, disappeared abruptly, leaving behind a burgeoning legend. As the dust settled, a new character emerged, a young king, symbolizing the cyclical nature of power transitions in ancient Egypt. Tutankhamun, later known as Tutankhamun, held a scepter and became a renowned pharaoh not for his actions in life, but for the treasures discovered in his untouched tomb. However, the mystery lies in identifying his mother, as historical records do not provide clear information. While his father was likely Akhenaten, his mother's identity remains ambiguous. Some experts suggest Nefertiti may have been his stepmother, while others propose she could have been his biological mother, citing artistic representations and chronological clues placing him as a young child during her final appearances. If Nefertiti indeed bore Tutankhamun, it would explain the guidance visible in his early rule and the decisions to reverse his father's religious changes. The intriguing question arises about who was truly in control during Tutankhamun's reign, as he ascended the throne at a young age. It is unlikely that a child alone could restore a religious empire, leading to speculation about someone with expertise in court affairs, religion, and public symbolism influencing behind the scenes. Was it Nefertiti clandestinely ruling, or possibly the high priest Ai, her potential father, or both, collaborating to restore Egypt to its traditional beliefs and dispel the chaos of Amarna? A significant clue lies in a golden shrine found in Tutankhamun's tomb, depicting a woman anointing the young king, bearing a striking resemblance to Nefertiti. If this figure was indeed her, it suggests she may not have disappeared entirely, but maintained a discreet yet influential presence at the center of power. Nonetheless, as the mystery persists without a named tomb or confirmed mummy, further research is required to unravel the enigma surrounding Tutankhamun's lineage and reign. Only fragments remain, indicative of the mysterious disappearance of Queen Nefertiti's presence in history. Despite her likely influence over Tutankhamun, All traces of her identity have been meticulously erased, leaving behind a void that hints at a powerful woman, once revered as a deity. The ironic twist lies in the fact that Tutankhamun's popularity inadvertently brings attention back to Nefertiti as a central figure in ancient Egypt's transformative period, encompassing roles as queen, priestess, and potentially a pharaoh. Nefertiti's enigmatic absence of a confirmed burial site perplexes experts. In a society deeply focused on the afterlife and elaborate burial rituals, the disappearance of such a prominent historical figure raises numerous theories. Some speculate she was hastily buried without proper rites, possibly due to political reasons, or to eradicate her association with the controversial Akhenaten. Others propose that her burial place remains undiscovered, with some theorizing it could be concealed within the Valley of the Kings itself, perhaps adjacent to Tutankhamun's tomb. Recent radar scans of KV-62 have hinted at hidden chambers, sparking new hope of unveiling the long-lost resting place of Nefertiti. The concept of history and gold held a fascination for the world, envisioning a queen just out of reach. Egyptologists anxiously awaited the results of further scans, but they were inconclusive. As excavations slowed and funding dwindled, Nefertiti once again faded into legend. Despite her absence, her presence is strongly felt through the numerous images of her captured in stone and paint. Her famous bust, currently exhibited in Berlin, still exudes an enigmatic grace behind museum glass, hinting at hidden knowledge. With ongoing excavations in Amana and the valley, speculation arises annually. Will a sealed chamber finally reveal her secrets? Could a forgotten symbol in the sand unveil her true identity? Or will she forever remain an enigmatic figure in Egyptian history? Despite attempts to bury her in history, the search for Nefertiti remains ongoing, growing only more profound. Even though her tomb remains undiscovered and her remains unidentified, the world still holds Nefertiti in its memory. This enduring fascination is encapsulated in the iconic bust of Nefertiti, displayed in Berlin's Neues Museum since its rediscovery in 1912. In the sculpture, she exudes composure and tranquility, with a slender neck, a distinctive blue crown, and features so refined they seem contemporary. One of her eyes remains unfinished, potentially intentionally left incomplete or overlooked during the sculpting process. Nevertheless, even in its imperfection, the sculpture is timeless and unforgettable. The bust was unearthed by German archaeologist Ludwig Borchardt in the studio ruins of sculptor Thutmose at Amana. Upon revealing her face from beneath the dust, Borchardt instantly recognized the significance. In his diary, he simply noted, "No description suffices. One must see it." Nefertiti's worldwide recognition as a symbol of beauty and power grew once the world acknowledged her, transforming her from a historical figure into a global icon of mystery from ancient times. The controversy surrounding her bust stems from Germany's possession of it due to lax antiquities laws, while Egypt has been persistently requesting its return. Egyptians believe she should be back in the land where she once resided, but Germany has declined, citing concerns over its fragility during transportation. Some speculate that Germany's reluctance is linked to the bust's drawing power and prestige, akin to the significance of the Mona Lisa. Nefertiti's portrayal in the bust challenges the traditional perception of ancient women as passive beauties, reflecting regal and assertive qualities hinting at a figure with hidden secrets and significant influence. Despite the mystery surrounding her, the bust immortalizes Nefertiti in the collective memory of humanity, conveying a story that transcends time with a profound impact. Nefertiti's enigmatic presence continues to captivate as a captivating yet elusive figure in ancient history, inspiring endless fascination and intrigue. She remains a paradox, extensively documented, yet shrouded in mystery, with various interpretations over the centuries, portraying her as both a divine goddess and a strategic political figure. Nefertiti's legacy remains a subject of fascination, whether she sat on the throne or was the throne itself. Depicted as a tragic romantic or shrewd leader, her true essence remains shrouded in mystery. Beyond her role as a queen, she exuded a regal presence that rivaled kings and wielded power with grace and strategy. In a male-dominated world, she established her influence through her dignified demeanor and mastery of her era's visual and spiritual customs. Central to a significant religious transformation, she not only symbolized Akhenaten's sun cult, but embodied it, serving as a link between the divine and mortals. Despite efforts to erase her memory following her disappearance, Nefertiti's name has endured through the ages, captivating imaginations and stirring curiosity. Her enigmatic nature and iconic status have preserved her legacy, transcending time and cementing her as a queen of perpetual fascination. Under the blazing sun of Egypt, Nefertiti's influence lingers globally. It is preserved in museum displays, discussed in academic circles, portrayed in novels, and explored in documentaries. Unlike many historical figures, her legacy has not faded over time. If anything, it has grown stronger. There is an undeniable allure to her beyond just her beauty. While beauty is not uncommon, the enigmatic gaps in her life story present a challenge, as if she is daring us to unravel the mysteries surrounding her, knowing we may never fully understand. In this way, she has transcended mere historical significance to become an archetype, being reimagined by each generation in their own context. From being viewed as a mysterious and submissive queen to a symbol of female empowerment and a style icon, Nefertiti's persona has evolved over time through the lens of imagination. Despite the fragmented nature of her story, her enduring fame and intrigue have granted her a form of immortality, as her name, image, and narrative continue to captivate audiences worldwide. Rather than being etched in stone or buried in a tomb, Nefertiti's lasting impact lies in the perpetual fascination she sparks, leaving behind an unresolved enigma that is both haunting and unforgettable. The power was not solely about ruling an empire, shaping religion, or raising royal daughters, but about attaining timelessness. Nefertiti, the alluring figure who never truly departed, resides within our inquiries, curiosity, and urge to commemorate the forgotten women of history. She exists not in riches or fame, but in the perpetual pursuit of being sought after. And what is more enduring than that? In China, where clouds drift low and the wind sings through bamboo forests, a dragon lies asleep. However, this dragon is not a figment of myth or a fire-breathing creature of lore. It is crafted from earth and stone by the toil-worn hands and patient vision of centuries. Referred to by locals as the dragon's backbone, the vast rice terraces undulate across the mountainside, like glistening scales adorned with water, rice, and ancient heritage. When viewed from afar, These terraces resemble a dormant being, with hills undulating in harmonious precision, each layer rising and falling, akin to the sinuous form of a living organism. Yet, upon closer inspection, a more vivid vitality emerges. Water trickles softly through meticulously carved channels, seedlings dance in the breeze, and at daybreak, the morning mist envelops the scenery like the exhalation from the dragon's nostrils. The creation of these terraces was not rushed. The tale began over 700 years ago, when the Zhuang and Yao peoples, ethnic minorities deeply connected to the mountains, chose to tame the inclines rather than abandon them. With flat land in scarcity and technology absent, they turned to the mountains with a simple query: how do we sustain ourselves in this terrain? The solution spanned generations. Armed solely with stone implements and bamboo receptacles, they chiseled away at the slopes inch by inch, year after year. As they constructed each level, they not only altered the landscape, but also instructed it to synchronize with them. Rainfall was transformed into a valuable asset, while slopes provided sustenance. The growth of rice, essential for survival, began thriving in areas where gravity had once dominated. Over time, the terraces started resembling a resting dragon, sturdy, eternal, and revered. This endeavor was more than just farming. It symbolized harmony, a quiet agreement between humanity and the environment. No portion of the mountain was neglected, and no area was forcefully reshaped. Instead, people collaborated with the land, fashioning it with curves and undulations, attuned to the wind's whispers and the water's flow. Nowadays, the backbone of the dragon still supports entire villages, serving as a reminder of what perseverance can achieve. In a fast-paced world, a dragon remains untouched, sculpted meticulously layer by layer, dream by dream. To wander amidst the extensive Longji rice terraces is to enter a realm shaped by relentless determination. There are no illusions here, no mechanical imprints or corporate boundaries. Spread across these mountains are traces of human resilience. Each bend, every incline, and every water droplet has been meticulously arranged, stone by stone, with hands that understood the land's rhythm. When the Zhang and Yao communities initially faced the daunting and steep hillsides centuries ago, they didn't perceive challenges. Instead, they saw prospects. The lowlands were already occupied, the fertile plains already cultivated. Nonetheless, amid the harsh peaks, they glimpsed a chance for progress if only they could make the earth cooperate. Armed with basic tools like wooden shovels, stone equipment, and baskets of soil and rocks carried on their weathered backs, they slowly crafted terraces, horizontal veins traversing the mountains, supported by carefully stacked stone walls. These terraces weren't accidental incisions on the slope. They were... Precision was essential in constructing the terraces, ensuring each tier could support and transport water efficiently without any waste. A slight error could lead to the collapse of an entire section. The elders passed down their knowledge to the younger generation, who learned to observe the seasons and develop a deep understanding over time. The mountain yielded to their careful work, resulting in a landscape that harmoniously integrated with nature. These terraces, resembling a spiral staircase reaching towards the sky, were meticulously crafted without modern tools or formal education, demonstrating the enduring belief that even steep land can be harnessed for agricultural purposes. Maintained through traditional methods, these terraces continue to be productive and resilient, showcasing the power of deep-rooted customs to withstand challenges. The intricate water system, flowing naturally from the mountaintop, springs down through the terraces, has been carefully designed to support the farming practices for centuries. Rainwater and springs are captured at the mountain's peak and channeled through a series of ditches and canals, utilizing gravity to water each field before cascading gently into the next, revealing the terrace's enduring secret of sustainability. In this carefully crafted system, each rice patch is meticulously catered to with precision, ensuring it receives just the right amount of water. No mechanisms are present. Instead, the control is maintained through the skillful adjustment of stone or wood gates by the villagers as they meticulously monitor the flow daily. Maintaining this delicate balance is crucial, as an overflow in one terrace could lead to flooding in the next, while a leak might result in drought. The villagers act as stewards of this intricate setup, walking the ridges regularly to inspect, fine-tune, and listen to the gentle flow. It's akin to playing a finely tuned instrument, where one misstep can disrupt the entire harmony. The significance of water transcends merely nourishing the rice fields. It creates a breathtaking reflection of the sky. As the seasons change, the scenery transforms from glassy reflections in spring to lush green stalks in summer, golden hues in autumn, and frosty stillness in winter, embodying the cyclical rhythm of life. Time in Longji is not marked by hours, but by the ebb and flow of water, the signs of nature's awakening, and the earthy scents that permeate the air. Amidst a world governed by seconds, the inhabitants of Longji remain attuned to the cadence of seasons and droplets, where the pulse of life beats steadily through a living tapestry of stone and earth. Spring in the Longji Mountains heralds the awakening, not with flowers, but with the gentle flow of water. With the snow melting on the high peaks, streams gently flow down, bringing life to the terraces below. The terraced fields are now ready for planting. As the mythical dragon awakens, the community readies itself for the annual ritual that connects them to their ancestors, symbolized by sowing the first seeds. Without any fanfare, villagers, both young and old, emerge with the morning mist. They traverse the narrow ridges barefoot, wearing straw hats pulled low, carrying baskets on their backs. The air is heavy with the aroma of damp soil and mountain breeze. The flooded terraces, previously looking like mirrors, now gleam like precious jade. This is a task that machines cannot perform. Every rice seedling nurtured in nurseries is meticulously transplanted by hand in a ritualistic manner. The laborers wade into the cold water, delicately planting each seedling into the mud one by one, row by row, bending low, extending an arm, pressing gently. This process continues throughout the day, sometimes lasting weeks. Children playfully follow suit, imitating their elders in the water, discovering the art of planting through experience rather than theory. Traditional knowledge is passed down through practical engagement, not words. Planting is not merely a chore, but a ceremonial act. Prayers are offered to the mountain spirits, and songs echo across the fields. In certain villages, elders scatter the initial seedlings as a gesture of blessing. Every field sown is a vow to the land, the forefathers, and the future generations. The pace is deliberate. No one rushes the mythical dragon or challenges the mountain. The planting rhythm transforms into a form of meditation, uniting humans with nature, patience with purpose. With each passing day, vibrant green shoots emerge from the waterlogged fields. The fields murmur softly. From now on, the terraces will flourish. They will not just bear rice, but also hope. Every seed represents a prayer, and each row stands as a peaceful resistance against hunger and impatience. Thus commences the cycle anew, not with clamor or flames, but with hands in the soil and souls in the heavens. The dragon stirs, the mountain exhales, and the future gets sown one seed at a time. Scattered throughout the ridgelines and nestled in the corners of the terraces lie the heartbeats of the dragon's spine. Villages like Pingen, Dai, and Jingen. These are more than just settlements. They serve as vibrant museums of tradition, where every dwelling, trail, and balcony clings to the mountain like a memory determined never to vanish. The houses are constructed of timber raised on stilts to shield them from the rain and the steepness of the hill. Their roofs, pitched and dark, mimic the contours of the terraces they survey. Seen from above, they appear as wooden lanterns drifting on seas of green. Within, life is straightforward, cozy, and deeply communal. Multiple generations share a household, and meals are prepared over wood fires. The scent of rice, wine, and bamboo smoke wafts into the mountain breeze. The inhabitants here belong to ethnic minority groups, the Zhuang and the Red Yao, each with their own language, traditions, and tales. The Red Yao women are easily identifiable with their long black hair, untouched since childhood, elegantly styled atop their heads. Some let it cascade down like silky waterfalls when they bathe in the river, a sight so graceful it seems almost mythical. Despite modernization encroaching on the mountain paths, traditions stand resolute. Handcrafted garments dyed with indigo, wooden looms creaking in tranquil spaces, and traditional music played on reed pipes and bronze drums during village celebrations. Weddings still consist of traditional ceremonies, full of cultural rituals and vibrant festivities. Ritual dances are performed to welcome the harvest while song is sung. In this place, hospitality is not viewed as a transaction, but rather as a natural response. Visitors are treated to locally brewed tea, rice wine served in intricately carved gourds, and tales handed down from older generations who recall the mountain before the introduction of electricity. They share stories about mystical dragons shrouded in mist, ancestors who sculpted the hills, and spirits who protect the fields. Despite an influx of tourists from around the globe, the village life rhythm remains mostly undisturbed. Rice cultivation continues, seasonal rituals are still observed, and the terraces, like the community, endure by assimilating change gradually, akin to water descending one step at a time. Life within the dragon's coils is leisurely here, not hurried, but flowing, resonating, and retaining memories. Exploring the terraces of Longji is like delving into layers of folklore. The hills are not merely earth and rock, but are alive with narratives whispered amid bamboo groves and carried by the breeze. To the locals, these mountains are more than just land. They are revered entities molded by deities, safeguarded by spirits, and filled with stories passed down through generations. A prominent legend recounts a slumbering dragon whose form spans the ridges, with its spine shaping the terraces themselves. It is believed that the mountain curves are not man-made, but rather the dragon's scales undulating with each breath. As mist blankets the paddies in white from the valley, it is said that the dragon, in its slumber, stirs softly. Another account narrates the origins of the terraces from divine benevolence. During a period of famine, The forefathers ascended the mountains and beseeched the heavens. Touched by their faith, the gods. Rain fell and instructed the people to carve the hills into steps for growing rice. The people obeyed with the dragon guiding them. They have since revered the mountain, maintaining respect by not shouting in fields or cutting trees without prayer. These beliefs are oral traditions, shared through songs at planting and incense burned during the growing season. Children learn these stories as truth intertwined with the land, where mocking the dragon risks poor harvest and disrespecting spirits invites disasters. Water spirits are also honored, with farmers making offerings before releasing spring water into terraces each year. This tradition, like tying a shoe, is natural. Regardless of belief in dragons, a sense of sacredness pervades the place, perhaps emanating from the silence, clouds, or the understanding that it transcends mere human creation. The tale of the dragon's backbone was once a guarded secret, known only to locals. But modernity has encroached with roads, wires, and tourism, posing new challenges for the ancient terraces. Initial concerns over commercialization and development arose, but the mountain's essence is resilient, and the story continues to unfold through stone, water, and rice, replacing wood with concrete, transitioning culture into a mere costume. And yet, the Long J community did not merely endure, they adapted. Rather than forsaking their heritage, they intricately intertwined the present with it, stitch by stitch. Villagers started welcoming visitors into their homes, not as commercial resorts, but as intimate family lodgings. Guests savor local delicacies like bamboo-cooked sticky rice and freshly picked wild greens. They slumber in elevated wooden houses where roosters herald the dawn. This experience isn't staged. It's authentic and vivid. Farming remains an integral part of life. Locals still submerge the terraces seasonally, plant meticulously by hand, and reap with time-worn sickles. While youngsters attend school during the day, they assist in the fields at twilight. Though tourism brings income, rice sustains existence. Each bolsters the other, both indispensable. While some youths migrate to urban areas, many return, drawn back by the magnetic allure of the terraces, a pull deeper than mere sentimentality. The symphony of water streaming through the canals, the starlit reflections on the paddies, and the mountains teaching patience embody this essence. Local celebrations have grown more vibrant, incorporating microphones in lieu of traditional drums, Mandarin and English signs next to sacred springs, yet ancient rituals persist. Offerings are still tendered, and elders lead the chants. The dragon's backbone gracefully absorbed change, harmonizing and evolving rather than resisting. The terraces endure not through stagnation, but by ebbing and flowing with time, adaptable and resilient, amidst a world often sacrificing tradition for progress. Long G stands as a serene testament that progress can tread gently when opted for. That ancient customs hold a place in the contemporary world, especially when they exude such beauty. The dragon's backbone. Every time one visits the place, it appears different. It undergoes a transformation with the changing seasons, altering its appearance and atmosphere. Unlike cities that evolve over the years, these terraces change rapidly within weeks, draped in light and rhythm. Observing them throughout a year is akin to witnessing a mountain breathe. Spring mirrors the terraces. They get flooded for planting, and the still water mirrors the sky like a shimmering glass. Clouds seem to float beneath your feet, making visitors feel as though they are walking in heaven. Though the fields may seem empty, they are brimming with potential as life stirs beneath the surface. Summer emerges with a lush burst of green as the rice shoots grow tall and straight, covering the hills in a cascade of emerald. The terraces resemble ribbons of velvet from afar, rolling in all directions. The air is warm and humid, filled with the calls of frogs from the paddies, farmers, knee-deep in water, toil from dawn till dusk, their hats resembling tiny sails on a jade sea. Autumn casts a golden hue, marking harvest time. The rice ripens, and the terraces gleam in the sunlight, radiating with grain. The fields undulate in the breeze, accompanied by the echoing drums from the villages. Families gather, singing songs and cooking sticky rice. It's more than just a season. It's a jubilant celebration. The dragon awakens fully, offering its bounty. Winter descends, enveloping the mountain in tranquility. The terraces lie empty, drained of water. Sometimes snow falls, dusting the steps in a soft white blanket, while other times frost adorns the walls like delicate lace. The fields are devoid of tools and voices, immersed in utter silence. The dragon slumbers, resting and waiting. Each season composes a unique poem, reflecting in spring, growing in summer, nourishing in autumn, and resting in winter. The allure of Longji isn't just in its physical form, but in its cyclical nature, showcasing the beauty of transformation with each passing season. Time is embraced effortlessly by the terraces, as they undergo silent transformations, never feeling the need to announce themselves. Photographers seek out the light in this place, aiming to capture something timeless. The terraces, however, do not remain stagnant for anyone. They shift, they pulsate. Gently, they convey to us the notion that beauty is not fixed, but rather a continuous flow, a way of life, a commitment that renews itself with each passing season. Thus, the dragon symbolically turns once more, not through roaring flames, but through the elements of water, grain, and wind. Ultimately, the terraces go beyond being mere fields. They symbolize a solemn pledge etched softly, curved and ingrained on the mountainside. A commitment handed down from one hand to another, from one season to the next, across generations. The dragon's spine represents more than just a marvel of agriculture or a marvel of engineering. It narrates the tale of what can happen when humans choose to coexist harmoniously with the land rather than opposing it. Despite having easier alternatives, Long's ancestors decided to remain, to study the incline, listen to the rocks, track the course of the water, thereby converting the unattainable into the mundane, sustaining villages on the mountainside. Each bend in the terraces imparts a lesson, not solely about cultivating rice, but about patience, inheritance, and nurturing. These terraces were not constructed in a matter of years, or even decades, but took centuries to form. There are no quick solutions to achieving unity, no contraption capable of replicating the wisdom engraved in every stone wall by hard-working and determined hands. However, nothing about the terraces is static. They are teeming with life. They adapt and respond to the weather, the necessities of the community, and the changing landscape. This adaptability is their secret. They were never inflexible, but always malleable. Even today, as modernity scales the hills with its technology and devices, the terraces remain grounded. They may evolve, but they also maintain their essence, showcasing the beauty of fluidity, and resilience. Plants do not disappear because their origins extend beyond the soil. They are rooted in narratives, customs, and the timeless act of sowing a seed with faith in the sky. Walking along the Dragon's Ridge reveals a covenant between humans and the land, sealed through hard work and sunshine, renewed with each harvest. It serves as a gentle reminder that advancement is not always about speed and grandeur. Sometimes it whispers softly like a stream flowing over rocks. This is why the terraces hold a special place in the hearts of many, from farmers to wanderers to visionaries, as they embody a lesson we seem to have forgotten: that enduring legacies are not forged through strength alone, but through harmony, modesty, and patience. The dragon rests, the people persist, and the mountain reminisces. While most tourists in Giza marvel at the pyramids and the Sphinx, few ponder what lies beneath them. Buried beneath layers of sand, the Nile, and centuries of neglect near the ancient village of Abu Rash, a mysterious tale unfolds. It tells of a colossal, weathered, and disregarded secret: an underwater sphinx. Local fishermen have passed down stories of its existence for ages: a sleek, nearly symmetrical feline figure partially submerged in mud and waterlogged sediment. During dry spells, portions of it emerge as the Nile's waters recede, revealing sculpted patterns, worn features, and a rumored carved paw that bears the touch of human hands. This discovery remains off the beaten path for tourists, lacking signposts, barriers, or nearby tour buses. Instead, it lies in a secluded area teeming with reeds, brackish water, and silence. Bold explorers who dared to venture into this area. The land itself is said to have a distinct feeling, almost charged with memories clinging to it. Beneath the murky waters, sonar scans have detected geometric shapes and what seem to be deliberately placed blocks. Of particular interest are the assertions that a sphinx-like formation submerged near Giza might predate the pyramids by millennia, rather than just decades. This potential discovery has the potential to disrupt the established timeline of Egyptian civilization, with the Great Sphinx traditionally dated to around 2500 BC. Yet, this underwater structure, if proven to be man-made, could belong to a time when the Sahara was green and the Nile flowed through a lush landscape. Despite skeptics dismissing it as a natural rock formation shaped by water and wishful thinking, the distinct grooves, curves, and alignment with celestial markers raise more questions than answers. The site remains unexcavated, largely ignored by official archaeologists. It could be insignificant or a significant relic not only of Egypt's history, but of a lost world swallowed by floods and time. The underwater Sphinx, dormant for now, seems almost expectant, holding untold secrets that many seem unwilling to uncover. The tale of the underwater Sphinx transitioned from local legend to a topic of global interest in the 1980s, when independent researchers and divers started sharing peculiar findings. Reports emerged of a colossal lion-bodied figure, partially submerged near the Giza Plateau. Initial photographs were blurry and inconclusive, leading to skepticism. However, they sparked an unquenchable curiosity and sowed seeds of doubt. An amateur Egyptologist was among the early advocates, claiming to have spotted a weathered monument buried deep under layers of silt and flood during his expeditions. A short period of drought was observed by an individual. They noted that the feature in question was not simply a random rock formation or result of erosion. It possessed distinct characteristics, such as geometric shapes, legs, symmetry, and even a faint resemblance to a sculpted face. This discovery posed a challenge to the conventional narrative upheld by Egyptology, which is founded on established structures and timelines. Most experts believe that the Giza pyramids and the Great Sphinx were constructed around 2500 BC, during Pharaoh Khafra's rule. The notion of an older Sphinx partially submerged would necessitate a reevaluation of Egyptian history and the timeline of human civilization. Mainstream scholars responded cautiously, even skeptically. They insisted that without peer-reviewed excavations, carbon dating, or stratigraphic studies, the claim could not be taken seriously. Many suggested that the purported underwater Sphinx was likely a natural formation resulting from limestone weathering due to thousands of years of Nile floods and sediment erosion. In Egypt, they emphasized, nature often imitates intentional design, as wind, water, and time are skilled sculptors. Nevertheless, the images continued to circulate, and sonar readings continued to reveal peculiar patterns that appeared too regular, smooth, and intriguing. Subsequently, various theorists emerged, including authors, filmmakers, and unconventional historians, who crafted narratives surrounding this enigma. They proposed that the Sphinx might be a relic of a forgotten civilization, potentially Atlantean or pre-dynastic Egyptian, lost in a catastrophic flood that reshaped the Sahara. These theorists highlighted water erosion marks on the original Great Sphinx, advocated for lost ancient technologies, and hinted that the submerged structure beneath the Nile could be much older than conventional knowledge permits. The debate intensified, but no official excavation was initiated. No museum laid claim to the site, and the mysterious feature, presumed to be the Sphinx, remained undisturbed, submerged in sediment, existing at the intersection of legend and reality. The prospect of an entity near Giza predating the pyramids is not just intriguing, it is groundbreaking. If the existence of an underwater Sphinx cannot be solely attributed to erosion or chance, then the origins of Egypt did not start in the 4th dynasty, but even farther back in prehistoric times, when the Sahara was lush and the Nile flowed wider and more unpredictably. This idea gained attention in the 1990s, when geologist Dr. Robert Schoch examined the Great Sphinx itself. He proposed that the profound vertical weathering on the Sphinx's enclosure was not a result of wind and sand, but rather from prolonged ancient rainfall that hadn't occurred on the Giza Plateau since around 7000 BC. This pushed the potential age of the Sphinx back by millennia, to a time long before the first pharaohs ruled. If water had a hand in shaping the original Sphinx, could it have also concealed an even older counterpart? The submerged Sphinx is located in a lower area close to ancient floodplains. Evidence from satellite images and ground-penetrating radar indicates potential foundations, rectangular shapes, and intentional construction hidden beneath layers of silt and seasonal water. These findings suggest that this site may predate not only the Sphinx, but also the era of hieroglyphs in Egypt. Proponents of this hypothesis highlight the gaps in Egypt's history between the end of the Ice Age and the emergence of the initial dynasties. During this period, the Nile changed its course. The Sahara transformed from fertile lands to arid desert, and civilizations likely rose and fell, leaving no written records behind. The notion that an ancient civilization, predating written history, could have built such a monumental structure challenges conventional beliefs held by historians. However, examples like Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, constructed around 9600 BC by hunter-gatherers, demonstrate that prehistoric societies created elaborate structures long before Stonehenge. Could Egypt harbor a similar hidden secret? A civilization from the distant past marked the landscape with stones, long before written stories were recorded on papyrus. The construction of an underwater sphinx during that era would challenge our understanding of human history, indicating not just forgotten structures, but a whole forgotten epoch. This ancient time could have influenced the builders of the Giza pyramids, leaving behind more than legends, perhaps a submerged monument that has since been neglected. Stones retain memories and reveal a silent yet persistent narrative around the alleged site of the underwater sphinx, showing not only the passage of time but also the impact of water. Geological features like sediment layers, erosion marks, and flood patterns suggest a history predating the arid desert and the familiar course of the Nile, long before the pharaohs made their mark on history. Experts examining images and data from the location near Abu Rash have observed peculiar erosion patterns, indicating prolonged exposure to flowing water rather than wind or sand, a phenomenon unseen in the region for millennia. These same observations have been made regarding the Great Sphinx and its enclosure wall, which show erosion features more indicative of heavy and sustained ancient rainfall rather than wind erosion. Similar signatures have been detected at the potential underwater Sphinx site, hidden beneath a shallow flood basin, with parts of the structure occasionally emerging during low Nile flow or excavation, displaying lion-like features and a remarkably level foundation. Surveyors studying the region have noted its geological activity, high clay content, and signs of fluctuating ancient water levels, resulting in heavily weathered stones at the site. The erosion on the structure doesn't appear random. Rather, it aligns with the form of the monument itself, indicating intentional shaping before being submerged. Some sediment layers surrounding the location can be traced back to a wetter, lusher era in Egypt's history, marked by extensive flooding during the early Holocene period. Had the monument been crafted during that time, it might have endured for centuries before being engulfed by mud, fading from memory with the passage of time and being buried under the Nile's shifting silt deposits. Critics dismiss these observations as mere coincidences, attributing them to natural occurrences that have been romanticized by wishful interpretations. However, water doesn't naturally create symmetrical features or meticulously carved surfaces, nor does it establish precise alignments or mimic the geometrical patterns found in a nearby recognizable sphinx. This deepens the mystery. If water obscured this monument from view, what other historical artifacts might it have concealed? Moreover, what lies undiscovered beneath the Earth's surface? The enigmatic presence of the underwater sphinx, silent, ancient, and crafted, prompts questions about why it has not been excavated. It remains submerged under layers of mud and silence, neglected by archaeologists, ignored by authorities, and left to the mercy of the currents. The answer, akin to the artifact itself, lies concealed beneath the surface. Egypt's archaeological institutions vigilantly safeguard their ancient treasures through strict regulations, rigorous excavation procedures, and a requirement for scholarly consensus. Unearthing any site, particularly one that challenges established historical timelines, necessitates permits, financial resources, international oversight, and, most importantly, institutional validation. However, such approval commonly hinges on an unspoken decree, refraining from revising Egypt's history without substantial, incontrovertible evidence. This dilemma prevails around the so-called underwater Sphinx, which has never undergone an official government-sanctioned excavation. While individual researchers, foreign academics, and unconventional thinkers have explored the area, their discoveries, lacking official endorsement, are viewed as anecdotal, suggestive, but not definitive. This underscores the ongoing controversy surrounding. The Nile itself poses a dynamic challenge as it regularly floods, recedes, and shifts its course over long periods. The location where the monument is believed to be situated is prone to flooding and remains submerged for much of the year. To excavate the area, extensive measures would be needed, such as draining water, protecting local ecosystems, and addressing structural damage caused by centuries of sediment pressure. This process alone could span many years, if not decades. Moreover, political considerations add another layer of complexity. Confirming a discovery of this magnitude could not only disrupt academic timelines, but also challenge established narratives, potentially impacting national pride and attracting unwanted media attention that Egypt may not desire. The Ministry of Antiquities tends to showcase findings that emphasize Egypt's grandeur rather than casting doubt on its foundational history. There are rumors suggesting that certain organizations might possess more information than they disclose, conducting preliminary studies discreetly behind closed doors. However, lacking public records, peer-reviewed research, or official government statements, these speculations veer towards conspiracy theories. Consequently, the monument remains buried, whether intentionally or coincidentally, submerged in mud and skepticism. It is a peculiar paradox that in a nation deeply invested in preserving its ancient heritage, one of its greatest enigmas might be concealed in plain sight, unclaimed, unexplored, and absent from the annals of time. Yet, nothing remains hidden indefinitely. For the ancient Egyptians, the Sphinx symbolized more than just a statue, embodying strength harmonized with wisdom and the convergence of the divine and the mortal. The most renowned one, the Great Sphinx of Giza, towering at 66 feet tall, has stood watch over the plateau for over 4,000 years, gazing towards the rising sun, serving as a sentinel at the intersection of the celestial and earthly realms. The origin of the Sphinx, located near the tombs of pharaohs, remains a topic of debate. Some attribute its construction to Khafra, while others suggest it could be much older, with its face possibly altered over time. The discovery of a second Sphinx, concealed, submerged, and potentially more ancient, nearby would have significant implications. While historical records do not mention twin sphinxes at Giza, Greco-Roman accounts hint at the presence of guardians, flanking sacred areas for balance. Symmetry holds great importance in Egyptian architecture, evident in pairs of statues, obelisks, and avenues of lions at temples. Could twin sphinxes have existed too? Some researchers propose that the submerged sphinx may not be a mere replica, but the original prototype, created by an earlier civilization and later emulated on a larger scale. If this theory holds true, it suggests that the concept of the Sphinx did not originate with dynastic builders, but with a forgotten culture whose beliefs were passed down, adapted, and perfected over time. If the monument predates written records, its purpose might not align with pharaonic ideologies, and instead serve astronomical, ritualistic, or commemorative functions, marking significant events or deities. The lion symbolism is deliberate, representing the horizon and the gate between day and night in ancient Egypt. A sphinx facing east symbolizes the eternal rebirth of the sun, immortalizing this sacred event in stone. Imagine a sphinx carved before the pyramids, standing in alignment, watchful and guarding. Its existence would not only rewrite history, but also redefine Egypt's mythology as a remnant of an even older civilization. The idea that this symbol lies submerged adds a mystical element to it, fitting for a guardian of lost civilizations. Beneath the sea, the enigmatic underwater sphinx resounds globally, marking a profound separation that transcends mere rock or sediment. On one side, conventional Egyptology stands firm, careful, organized, and aligned with scholarly agreement. On the opposite end, an increasing group of self-reliant researchers, unorthodox historians, and inquisitive individuals believe a remarkable discovery is being dismissed. Established scholars demand proof, validated research, geological layers, ancient writings, and carbon dating. Their vigilance is justified. Egypt boasts many natural rock formations bearing likeness to living beings, and incorrectly identifying them could spread misinformation. Archaeology requires precision. History is delicate. Once disrupted by inadvertent actions or sensationalism, it cannot be reconstructed. Nevertheless, to some, prudence has transformed into apathy. Autonomous investigators, several with scientific or engineering backgrounds from different domains, contend that the submerged sphinx and akin enigmas warrant in-depth exploration. They highlight detailed satellite images displaying artificial symmetry, ground-penetrating radar scans revealing rectangular structures below layers of earth, and erosion patterns hinting at deliberate design rather than chaos. They also question the underlying political agendas influencing the silence. Revenue from tourism largely flows through renowned monuments. An additional sphinx, particularly one contradicting the established timeline, could challenge Egypt's historical narrative and dominance. Their concern, they propose, is not a hoax, but a complete revision. Books, documentaries, podcasts, and conventions now frequently feature discussions on the underwater sphinx. It has evolved into a symbol of concealed history, serving as both a call to action and a word of caution. Advocates push for transparent excavation, while skeptics caution against pseudoscience. The actual truth, as always, remains obscured amidst the myriad voices as dense as the Nile's mud. The divide isn't solely scholarly but emotional. It mirrors our approach to the past. Do we rely solely on verified facts, or do we embrace the quest for new discoveries and interpretations? The underwater sphinx poses a tantalizing enigma just out of reach. This submerged mystery is more than just a mere artifact. It challenges the boundaries of our curiosity. While debates rage above its mute presence, this enigmatic figure has the potential to change everything. Buried in plain sight, its lion-like countenance gazes up from the depths with an ancient stillness, evoking an eerie allure. The enigmatic allure of the so-called underwater sphinx near Giza, whether real or not, tugs at our innermost desires, a yearning not just for discovery, but for recollection. It connects us to a primordial human sentiment of loss, reflecting on vanished civilizations and forgotten histories. If this underwater sphinx, potentially predating recorded history, is indeed authentic, it transcends being a mere antiquity, becoming a voice from an unknown era. Some speculate it could be a vestige of a lost prehistoric civilization, a notion often dismissed as fringe but emotionally resonant. Contemplating a monument older than the pyramids, submerged by time and forgotten, forces us to acknowledge the fragility of human progress and our place in the grand tapestry of history. The enduring narrative serves as a reminder of the non-linear nature of time, the impermanence of empires, and how even stone can erode over time. More significantly, it underscores that the journey of discovery continues, with Earth still safeguarding untold secrets absent from textbooks. In today's era, marked by quick responses and global information, the underwater sphinx represents a rare enigma, an unanswered question that remains elusive to drones or algorithms. Whether the underwater sphinx is a natural formation or a forgotten structure, its allure lies in the sense of wonder it evokes. It prompts us to question the depth of history, the intersection of myth and memory, and what mysteries lie just beneath the surface, awaiting discovery. Despite lacking a plaque, a name, or prominent recognition, the underwater sphinx silently beckons us to contemplate the enigmas yet to be unveiled. Amidst the numerous monuments unearthed in Egypt, many still lie hidden, either too delicate to excavate, or submerged beneath the river's shifting currents and layers of sediment. Some, like the underwater sphinx, remain in plain sight, ignored not due to insignificance, but because they pose complex queries that we are not yet prepared to answer. This silence, rather than its dimensions or age, renders the underwater sphinx so profound. It compels us to acknowledge the limits of our knowledge and the discomfort of overlooking potential discoveries. While the monument may never be fully explored due to political, financial, and traditional barriers, its obscurity does not diminish its relevance. In fact, it accentuates its significance, emphasizing the barriers obstructing its excavation and the valuable lessons it holds. The underwater sphinx functions as a reflection, showing us not only buried secrets, but also our selective memories. It serves as a reminder that history remains open-ended, existing as a puzzle, spread out across landscapes and coastlines. It anticipates a change in perspective, a shift in the status quo, or a bold question to disturb the settled dust. Perhaps one day the waters will retreat, revealing the complete figure. Maybe technology will confirm long-held suspicions, or maybe the enigma will endure, passed down through the ages like a whisper carried by rocks. Regardless of whether it is a monument or an illusion, the underwater sphinx already fulfills its primary purpose by sparking creativity. In a world overwhelmed by certainty, this might be its most valuable contribution. After all, the oldest treasures might not just be buried in sand or time, but within us, in our desire to explore, remember, and believe that somewhere beneath the sea or the desert, the past lingers and waits to be discovered.